I'm at Grace Church Road. I went to Waynesboro to bring this man down to this address. And now he's trying to force his way into a house. I'm afraid to move my vehicle. Just fighting in there.
It's inside the house now?
Yeah.
You have your doors locked?
It's open. I'm in a van.
You need to make yourself safe, okay? Even if you've got to drive away from there to get away from him and close that and lock that door. Do that for me now, please.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, you guys, so let's talk a lot of turkey tonight. Thank you, Drunk Turkey Show, for joining us on our live tonight, as well as our profiler and friend, Alexa, who is a profiling and handwriting expert. Thank you so much. Please hit the like and share, guys. And boom, we're live. Who's the first one? Who's the first one?
The only one that saw the intro already.
Did you like my little turkey little song, little jig in there?
I liked that.
Yeah. That was awesome.
And just so you know, to you guys that are in chat, thank you guys for joining us, of course, tonight, and thank you, Drunk Turkey Show, and that's Daniel and Big Blue at the bottom, and of course Alexa, our profiling handwriting expert. And if you hit ! drunk, it will bring up your guys' channel. Okay. So please go subscribe to them. I know they have a lot more subscribers, but thank you for all the new subscribers. If someone is from the Drunk Turkey Show, that's I think there is, because our subs did go up about 30 or 40 in the last day.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So welcome, and so let's just start off by, of course, saying hello to everyone. You guys, typically we go through the, hellos to everyone. So we want to just say appreciate everyone that's in chat. And if you could hit the like and share for us. And if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Oh, poor Big Blue. So there's some, I think, a little bit of internet issues going on there. So bear in mind if you see Blue pop in and out there. Well, that's just part of the show. Yeah. Anyways, well, so drunk, I was going to call you Drunk Turkey. So, Daniel, again, thank you for getting back. Like, literally, I said this to you, and I'll say it again. And I said it on our last live we had today quickly, because there was a little bit of a Delphi update. Truly appreciate the fact that you reached back out, like, really pretty much right away. And that it was just like, yeah, sure. And again, I totally appreciate that, because you know how when you reach out to people and you see them on other shows, but yet couldn't be asked to answer yours back or something like that. So I always have mad respect for people that do stuff like that. So I really appreciate the fact that you reached back out right away and, are on the live tonight with us. Yes. And
for sure. I when you reached out, I recognized the name. I actually subscribed to your channel and enjoy your content. So I was up for it, and just had to get with the guys, make sure that they were able to get on. Jaime, he's out at a concert that he couldn't get away from, and so he's watching I think Newfound Glory right now, and so yeah, he's out there, and Big Blue, he's coming in and out, but he'll be
he's coming in and out. And just quickly again, because again, I know a lot of people in our earlier live said, "Oh, I've never heard of Drunk Turkey before," and I said I hadn't either until recently, because you popped up in my live feed. So, do you just want to give everyone a gist again of what you kind of were telling us? You started and then came in over here to true crime, and
yeah, we were initially we weren't opposed to true crime or current news, things of that nature. But initially we started the podcast a few months back, and it was just supposed to be us guys. We've known each other for a long period of time, since elementary school. And we've always had these in-depth conversations, whether it be about conspiracies, government conspiracies, UFOs, Bigfoot, things of that nature. And we decided to start a podcast. um, we did that, and one of our viewers kind of just said, "Hey, try some true crime." And we started off with the Delphi case, and from there we got a lot of positive feedback. It was actually supposed to be just a 1 day a week type of thing. Murder Mystery Monday was what it was going to be called, and it evolved to our almost every time we're on kind of thing. You know, we we all have a certain interest or experience when it comes to something that could benefit our show when it comes to true crime. I'm prior law enforcement. Big Blue is currently in the medical field. And Jaime, he is a guy that is a serial K buff, goes through them all. And so, when we talk about these situations, we're able to put our heads together and put out in our opinion, a pretty good show that covers important topics when it comes to the true crime. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been working out for us.
I always appreciate nice kind of like what I call a chill channel that has good information and good content to put out there. Oh, he looks so small with those things on. Hi, Big Blue. Welcome back.
Hey, I'm so sorry about that. So, I ordered the fix and I got it today, so I just ran it. It shouldn't disconnect now.
We're just trying to pretend like it's part of the show, so go with it, okay? Yeah. Now you see him, now you don't. And so sorry that you missed it. Daniel, of course, was just telling us about your channel and how it's been evolving, and you guys have had some great success in a very short period of time, and so we wanted to say, of course, congratulations on that. And yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And so,
thank you very much.
Yeah, because like I said, we're very much a Delphi-based community here. So, of course, now if people don't know who Drunk Turkey Show is, now you know. And again, all you have to do is when I just hit it there, hit the exclamation mark drunk, and then their channel will come up, or you can just obviously Google it or YouTube it and find them there. Because again, people are all, like I said, I didn't know you guys existed up until like a week and a half or so ago. And so whenever it is that you had Kim on, but we'll get back to that in a second. So right now, Big Blue, before I go to Alexa, did you want to add anything at all to, anything at all?
No, I just want to say thank you for letting us on your show. And then, we started small and we're getting a little big out there. So we'll see where we go. But we thank everybody that follows us and subscribes to us. Thank everybody out there.
Yeah. And don't forget, you guys, too, that we're going live from Adam's stream and this stream here. Adam still needs 300 hours. He got his 1K recently. But anyway, so we're live streaming on both of the channels. And so Alexa is a profiler, handwriting expert. Alexa, again, for all those people, because there are new subs and that, of course, I don't know who you are. Can you just expand and tell people about yourself?
Sure. First of all, I want to say hi. I am a big fan. I have never asked Sunny to put me on a live. As soon as she told me you guys were going to be on, I was like, can I please come? She was like, because I really enjoy your content. So I was like fan crushing. I was like, please. I'm like, I promise I'll be good.
We appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Sunny, for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you guys. I am a crime and behavioral analyst. I was a crime and behavioral analyst for 16 years. I retired a couple years ago. Decided to. I had my kids and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore, but I still take a couple cases on and off, and I do graphology and handwriting analysis. So, that's basically what I do right now. And I'm also launching another business on the side, but basically that's my. And obviously, I love crime, and I thought I could walk away from crime, but then crime came back knocking, and I never knew about this whole community online. So I started coming. I really like Sunny, and we struck a friendship and with Adam, and they invited me to come and give my thoughts once in a while. So I really appreciate that. If I can. And I have to say, Daniel, I was talking to somebody and I said, he has to be, I didn't know your background, but I was like, you come off as law enforcement.
He does, actually.
Yeah, right. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was telling somebody, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what he is.
Yeah. I was a police officer for about 5 years.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
I left there, was
is it
opened up,
Texas?
in Texas. And then I opened up a business and been doing that since. Got into the podcast game actually with, so I'm a huge diehard Steelers fan. And I actually got into podcasting, talking about Steelers and that kind of, me doing that, getting on YouTube, being a part of a couple of different channels, kind of got these guys like, hey, if Daniel can do it, we can all do it, and we can get into this. And that's kind of what started it off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say, life always throws all these little twists and turns. And I mean, I'm an adventure taker myself. I don't know about you guys. Sounds like it. I just kind of go YOLO, whichever way, wherever the wind takes me and whatever my gut tells me, I always follow my gut. I'm kind of one of those ones. I'm not afraid to take little leaps and do things. And I never thought that I would be in true crime. Like, I literally stay away from it because I cannot stand the hurt and the pain of somebody else that has to feel such hurt. And so I've always stayed away from it because it hurts me to read it in the paper, to listen to it on the news. And then once I found the balance that you have to block things in order to talk about certain things, that's where I found my balance there, because the reward is that, to me, this is a very unselfish act. I'll say this all the time. When you do things for the right reasons and the true reasons of things, it's so easy to to do these things for other people. So I consider it a very unselfish act, because people are bringing a voice to the voiceless, and there's and that's what makes it so beautiful, to be honest, is that within a minute, the internet world and sleuths can, when there's like a lookout for a child or information or something, the internet sleuths and the people around the world just go, faster than the speed of light. Like, how do you feel about that, actually, Daniel? Like, knowing that you were a cop, but knowing how even when you watch News Nation and all that stuff nowadays, like they're usually having a lot of YouTube channels on there now, on their news. But how do you feel about that, about the sleuths trying to help?
I mean, I don't think that it hurts anything. I don't think it hurts the investigations or anything like that. And from my point of view, is that the police and the investigators have a lot more information than any YouTuber or sleuth or anything like that. And so just based on that, if there's information 9 out of 10 times coming out of YouTube or whatnot, the police or the investigators already are aware of it. Yes. Now, is there some stuff that populates that they maybe are helping out? For sure. I mean, you look at, for instance, Idaho, you look at the Grubhub video from the truck.
Yeah.
That was discovered and brought to the attention by Kaylee's sister,
Olivia.
Right. And so a lot of that didn't come from the police department. That had to be given to the police. And there's tip lines and things of that nature for a reason. And in my opinion, you have people sometimes who don't trust cops, don't like cops for whatever reason, and would rather, especially if they have some information, maybe not want to get involved directly, maybe want to tell somebody who can put that information out there, versus going to law enforcement. And so right. I don't see it as being an issue or a problem unless you start getting into the situation like the tarot card reader and the professor there. Yeah, right. That's getting sued. Once that starts going down the road and innocent people's lives are affected and things of that nature, that's kind of where the line is. But for the most part, I think everybody's just trying to help out, and they're trying to put in a perspective that is out there. Is there probably a little bit of, I want to solve the case by a lot of people? Probably so, but for the most part, that want and that need is actually helpful because it can lead to useful information that can sometimes break a case.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Gabby Petito case.
Right,
Like
yeah.
that one always stands out in my head. You know, had it not been for those people that went back to look at their tape that were out there, you know, that's why they were able to, you know, like know where exactly where to go to that fast because of that internet person that has a channel. That yeah, to me that helped. You know, abundance. I don't know how long they would be looking for, to be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that that video of the van was there and they
Right.
were able to find Gabby Petito there. Another huge case. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
will add also that though my career ended in 2012, so there
Yeah.
wasn't as many internet sleuths back then.
Definitely.
Things are a little bit different, so it is something that's also new to myself. I
Yeah.
didn't have to deal with it. I came from a small community, so it wasn't something that we had to deal with. We never had any high profile cases like that.
Yeah.
And so I could imagine the difficulty or the microscope feeling that this department, like for instance in Moscow, Idaho, is feeling
right.
because of the weight of the world of the eyes watching them. And
Huge.
honestly, a department that's probably not trained, or maybe not even so much not trained, but not experienced in this casualty.
Yeah, as Delphi.
So,
And
yeah, same with Delphi.
so Big Blue, let's just go over to you there. I'm not going to leave you sitting quiet on us.
That's
You know,
okay.
and if you happen to bounce out on us, again, it's just part of the act today, folks. That's it. So Big Blue, what is your passion like, or what got you in here, and what did you do before this, or I don't know, tell us about yourself on this one.
Okay. I mean, my passion is like I'm an outdoors person. I like hiking, fishing. So I was thinking with Daniel, maybe we're doing sports like he does the football. We were thinking about maybe doing like fishing, like going on
Mm,
fishing trips, and I wanted to do a little bit of content of like I go to a lot of rivers and lakes that nobody has videos out there. What's in there and how to get in there and where to park and stuff like that. And then we thought, well, we also like the idea of maybe talking to some celebrities and stuff and here and there, some
yeah,
musicians. So we went that route, and it was fun. I mean, I like that route. We still do shows like that. And then I think well, my favorite shows, my hobby is also drinking. So we do beer, we, we do
Hard
beer
to tell.
tastings
Hard to
sometimes.
tell.
Yeah, we do
and
beer tastings, and those are my favorite. You know, we pick 6 different beers
Seriously.
and we drink them
Oh,
till they're gone. So
that would be the right thing to do.
that's what Sunny should do. We should have
Right.
like spirits, like tequila or like
Oh,
double
well,
scotch or
right
something
now
like
it's Captain Morgan and me here. So there's really 6 of us here, me and the captain.
nice.
that.
Yeah, we have a saying when we do our beer offs is once you pop, you drink every drop. And
Oh,
so
I never heard that one.
uh,
Right.
yeah, like Blue said, one time we came up with I think it was four different drinks that we'd never tried before, but they're the same four. We all got the same four, right? And we've never tried them. We're gonna taste them, see how they how drinkable they are, things of that nature. But man, one time it was Tall Boys,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was an interesting show. It was an
Oh, I
interesting
would
show.
like to see that show. Remember the date? Can I write it down?
Yeah, it was probably sometime in November.
Okay,
There was like
November.
three of
Hold on. November.
them.
Yeah.
Note to
I haven't
self.
had a tall boy in a long time.
Um, just quickly again, for anyone that's coming in, thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Drunk Turkey Show with Daniel. Off to the, well, I guess that would be my right, and then Big Blue to the left. Jamie couldn't make it tonight. He was too busy at a concert. I don't understand the gist. I don't know. Sorry, Jamie. I just don't understand the concert or this
I
channel.
know. Concert us.
Such a hard
Hard to
hard
tell, right?
decision.
I get a concert.
Mhm. But so I just wanted to say again, thanks everyone. If you guys could hit that like and share button. Now, I need to get my one question out of the way, and then you guys can go ahead and we'll talk about Idaho and Alexa. You guys can talk to Alexa and ask her any questions you might have. But I have to know a little bit about this lady, Kim, that called into your show, and she was talking about how 1122 area was known as a place where they sold
Trap house.
substance. Yeah. So I just wanted like your guys' take, if you felt that, was it, I know that she had a lot of speculation going on, but what did you take away from the conversation? If you guys could say it to anyone that's watching as well with Kim. So and just explain, Kim is from Idaho. She's a caller that called into the show.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, yes.
So with Kim,
Oh,
and when I interview somebody, it has to come with the understanding of who I'm interviewing. And the person that I'm talking to is a person who's a grandma who's paid the tuition of several of her kids to go to several different universities in full. In my opinion, that means that this is a person that probably doesn't come from certain neighborhoods, that a trap house that a lot of people are thinking about
Right. Oh,
um, would be present. And so, um, I took what she said in stride. She basically said that the house was known as a party house and a place where people can score drugs.
right.
I'd asked her, I was like, is this something that her daughter had mentioned to her? Is that something that they had known about, or is that something that was knowledge around folks there? And, she said it was knowledge there. Now, this is a this is a college town and a college house with over 150 people sometimes at this parties. The fact that somebody's not going to have party favors, or
Mhm.
somebody, whether they're inside that house um, or somebody that visited that house didn't sell these drugs or whatnot that college kids typically take. I put that into consideration. I don't feel like it's a trap house in the essence of um, you know
Right.
a large quantity of stuff. I felt that it was based on what she described as a party house where people could score drugs at. It was just that as what as it was. I felt that it made a little bit more sense as to why these folks would contact maybe their friends before contacting the police. Um, just kind of thinking of the scenario, perhaps maybe Dylan was scared, locked into her room, knew she had something there, stuff there, maybe not a
Yeah.
large quantity. The sorority that they were a part of was on probation at that time for alcohol, drugs, or hazing, I believe.
Right.
And so, you know how they acted when the police were called when it was a noise complaint, and the police threatened to call Greek Row. That
Yeah.
was a that wasn't an empty threat. That was something that is utilized in that town to control, to a certain extent, the behavior of the students there. And so I don't see it out of this world that somebody not knowing the extent of the carnage that had occurred in that house the night before would call their friends because they have something in their house that they're not prepared to call the cops for.
Well, and so what about the fact that people were called at 10 or text at 10 a.m. that morning, prior to the authorities being called?
Well,
Do you feel like there was truth to
no.
that?
I do. Now, here's the other thing. You know, um, is it possible it was 10? Was it possible it was 11? In my mind, I'm thinking those things are possible. When was she told this? She wasn't told until after 5 p.m. And so most of the day had gone by. She was told once she got the alarm for the shelter in place at Pullman, Washington, at 5:30 or something like that. She then contacted her daughter, and her daughter told her, "Oh, I've already been aware of that situation." She asked,
Right.
"Since when?" She's like, "Since this morning." And then it wasn't until like the next day, because she said that she was like, "Well, what do you mean?" She's like, "I don't know. It just kept going around. It kept going around." It wasn't until like the next day or the day after that she got it out of her daughter. She's like, "Yeah, it went from the roommate to, that basically they were aware of it since like 10:30 in the morning, but this was days after. So, a
Right.
window there, memory isn't the best,
Right. Tool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
most, not the most reliable. And that's why I kept telling everybody when I would talk about her, is you have to take everything with a grain of salt. This isn't like a movie where Kim has
Mm-hmm.
had a script where she's been able to, memorize the lines, go through it, and
Yeah.
um, all these things. It's just all based off memory recollection. This is months later, even at that. And so you got to take what she says with a grain of salt. Um,
As with everything, yes.
And
now,
even police people sometimes don't understand. Even police make mistakes. So,
right,
mm,
exactly. And even though, let's just say this was a house, that maybe somebody there at the house sold party favors, little tricks here and there. That doesn't mean that that was the reason why this crime was committed. It could be completely different and just so happened to be, this house at certain points, somebody had drugs in there. And I don't think it's out of this world to believe that a college house known for their parties with a sorority that is on probation for drugs and alcohol wouldn't have drugs in at least at certain points in time.
Well, and I'm sorry, but I am going to ask one more question because it just came to me again. Did you ever think that perhaps those 12 trips were to do with him perhaps purchasing, and not so much stalking?
Maybe. I don't know how much stock I put into those pings, to be honest with you. Those type of things aren't very reliable. The probable cause affidavit speaks about that. And on page 15, it states that he was, pinged or connected to a tower in Moscow, but wasn't believed to be there on that day.
Right.
And so, how reliable they are is for subject. I mean, he's close enough that, especially in a rural area like that, where he could be at his apartment and be pinging close to theirs, and it showed that. And so, I don't know how effective the ones that are there or how accurate, but based on what is said in the probable cause affidavit, it leads me to concern it a little bit. And then you also have the fact that he was apparently pinged at his house at 242. He was on camera at 244, 2 miles away on northeast of Nevada Street.
Right.
That's in order for him to be there and then be at that camera situation, he would have had to have traveled 60 miles an hour uninterrupted from his apartment complex through town to get there.
Right.
And that's another big question, and so is the ping not accurate, or is it the or is he flying through town, or is it two different cars? And if the ping's not accurate in that situation, then you can't say that, it's accurate only when he was by the house 12 times.
Right, absolutely.
You can't say both those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Big Blue.
I have my own theories when it comes to the pings. It's because they're in a mountain area. It takes a while for those pings to get to those towers. So, that's my theory, that it took a while to get to that tower and he had time. They're not 100% accurate to tell you where exactly you are, but they're close.
Yeah. It's kind of like cameras, right? Cameras are never usually accurate for time. They're usually off.
That, and it depends on who's operating the camera and things of that nature.
The calibration and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's a good point, Big Blue, on that one. It's something that didn't enter my mind about that. I know that things are off, but I wasn't thinking about the fact that you are. I mean, I remember Kim kept saying that the cellular service sucked basically in that area.
She said her service sucked. I'm not sure if everybody's service sucked. I know that we got a lot of folks saying that they had AT&T and it was a lot better. Brian Koberger had to change his cell service before he went out there. He kept the same number. I'm assuming, based on what I read, it made it seem like he kept the same number. Just changed the provider, and my assumption is because of the area that he was going into probably didn't pick up his provider at the time.
Yeah.
So Alexa, or Big Blue, or Daniel, feel free to talk amongst yourselves for a sec. Did either of Big Blue?
Oh, there you go.
You guys, it was part of the plan. Give a thumbs up for that, okay? I'm not even kidding.
Right on time.
You scared him off, Alexa.
Alexa, or Daniel, whoever wants to go first. What question would you want to ask Alexa, or Alexa, think about? I know that you must have some questions for.
Well, I wanted to ask him, what are your thoughts about Delphi? Because I know you guys are focusing on Idaho, but I want to know what do you guys think about Delphi? I know you guys covered Delphi a little bit.
Yeah, we covered Delphi after the Richard Allen arrest. So we were, a little bit privileged to information that a lot of folks that were covering it throughout the entire time didn't have, such as a suspect, the timeline, the witnesses, things of that nature. Going through it, I think the police department got it right on this attempt with Richard Allen. The timeline that he puts out there as far as where he was at and when he was at, we did a pretty extensive breakdown of that on maps, and it makes it pretty hard for it not to be Richard Allen. I understand the eyes and why people were looking at Ronald Logan just based on the fact that he, was asking for an alibi and at the time and whatnot.
Yeah.
But once you find out that he also was trying to probably prevent him going back to jail for violating his probation, which he ended up doing. So I think he served almost 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of leads you to believe maybe that's why he was lying.
Yeah, and
There's a lot of rumors about other people, family members, things of that nature. Sometimes I think that people are looking for the plot twist, and sometimes there's just not one there.
Yeah.
well, what do you think about the whole Kagan Klein to the Richard Allen tie-in? You guys?
Kagan Klein, I think, in my opinion, me and Blue, we'll probably tell you the first to tell you is we thought that there was some connection there. I assumed that there was when there was a search of the was it Wabash River after talking to Keegan Klein, and then they go and search his house and end up finding some, I guess his Glock or whatever, or not his Glock, his gun that ended up being traced back to the unspent round. It's just crazy how there's a possibility that these young ladies were a victim of two different crimes,
Right.
two different predators. But one thing I will say is, Keegan Klein was in an area where he was targeting a certain amount of girls, a certain age, in a certain manner, and so it, had this not been related, and Richard Allen go out there and do this to any 13, 14-year-old girl that was in that area, there's a possibility that Keegan Klein talked to them and it not be related just because of the target that he had as far as what he was trying to gain. And so there's that possibility, but I find it hard to believe there's that many coincidences.
Yeah.
And
He changed his Facebook to February 13th to say he was in Vegas, besides the fact that he messaged her.
And also the searches that he did, I think those are the most telling. The searches that being at the marathon station, googling all those things that he did, the
Sandy Hook,
and all that stuff. And I think that's very interesting. Why would he do that?
Yeah. There's no telling. I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe perhaps. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why he would be doing that. But I think that there is some involvement there. I don't find it also, what's the word I'm looking for? Another coincidence being that some of his charges are getting changed or dropped.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And without explanation other than we couldn't identify this person's age or that. Usually and typically what lawyers will do is when they have something like this, they won't change or drop anything until there's some sort of plea deal met and agreed. And that's usually like, hey, I'll plead guilty if you drop, 10 of these charges. That way his sentence is like 15 years or something. Run them concurrent, not continuous, one after another. And, those are the type of deals that they make. And it's usually they'll have the charges stacked on someone until it's time to do that. And they don't start dropping charges before they have a deal. And so, it's
the timing is just a little interesting. Like, he starts getting, reduce, sentences. I mean, not sentences, reduce, what is it?
Charges.
Charges. And it's happened simultaneously with all this. So it's just the timing. It's very suspicious, in my opinion.
That's what we said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot.
For them to drop that many charges, they I guess they couldn't identify the girls, or maybe they just didn't want to be part of the court cases.
And it could be something simple like that, but it's just, to me, it's just the timing. That's what it makes, makes no sense to me. Or makes it curious. It stands out a little more.
That, or maybe they're trying to apply pressure on him. For instance, they do this in this manner.
Yeah.
They could be telling him, hey, people inside are thinking you're a snitch. You know what happens to people that are snitches?
Yeah.
And so, and so, especially inside. And so if they're not protecting him, if he's not in some sort of by himself, or even if he is, they might be telling him, hey, you need to come clean. People are going to think that you're part of this heinous crime, that, he's already part of a CP ring. And so,
Yeah.
They don't do very good in prison.
Right.
Yeah,
they don't do very good in prison already.
He's probably trying to secure himself a, what do you call it? A stay in solitary instead of getting put with everybody else if he's part of a CP ring, because it doesn't fall good with the people in prison.
Not at all. And so, this could be a situation where they're trying to make it seem like he's cooperating so that he does cooperate.
Mm-hmm. So, do you consider, and Adam's pop in a question, I know that, and I can hog if I want to, because I can talk all day long, but do you consider Richard Allen to be a psychopath or a sociopath? And that goes for Brian Kohberger. You know how that little debate keeps coming up. So for Brian Kohberger, both Blue and Daniel, Brian Kohberger, sociopath or psychopath, do you feel?
I'll let Blue answer this one first.
I want to say sociopath.
Okay. Alexa again, more than she already did right now. Yeah. What about you, Daniel?
Explain the difference to me, please.
Alexa?
Psychopaths are born. Sociopaths are made.
I would say Brian Kohberger was born this way.
Yeah, like Lady Gaga, right?
Yeah.
What about Richard Allen? Would you say? Would you put him as a socio or a psycho?
I mean, I've seen videos of him. He doesn't look like he's, like he looks like a normal guy. He doesn't look like he has things like he fits in. By all accounts, he fits in. I think he's probably more somebody that maybe turned that way based off of alcohol and other drugs and things of that nature.
I'd call him more of definitely a sociopath.
Yeah, because I would say if he was more of a psychopath, he wouldn't be able to maintain having a family, and he had a family.
Well, some psychopaths are able to do. I mean, a couple of them. Like BTK was able to maintain. What's the other one? What's his name? Russell Williams in Canada. Remember he was highly decorated in the army, even with the Queen and everything.
But Richard Allen didn't have a high IQ, and like most of those psychopaths do.
Yeah, I mean, there's different types, and but I do agree. I think he's more of a sociopath.
Yeah, I got dyslexia, so I get those two mixed up all the time. That's why I asked for the definition.
Daniel, no matter how many times Alexa explains it, and she's explained it many times, it goes in one ear and out the next, and they get twisted around as well for me. And I'm finally starting to actually understand the difference. It's one of those things that brain blockage here. As soon as I hear those two words, I'm like, which one? But now I just kind of remember sociopath is more of
society. Remember, society makes you. So sociopath, society makes you. Like
and
the environment.
You were born that way. Just remember that you were born.
Obviously, they have predisposition, obviously, too. And psychopaths are born. They actually physically, their brains, they have studied that their brains, the frontal cortex of their brain, the connections. There's a couple connections that are not physically there. So it's not that it's their fault, is that physiological, they are missing those connections.
Understood.
Adam, did you want to get in a question there somewhere? I'm sure you do.
No, not right now. I'm good.
Are you good? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then Daniel or Big Blue, did you have any particular question for a profiler / handwriting expert? Did you have anything that comes to your brains that you wanted to ask? You don't
I do. So Richard Allen had a handwritten letter written to the judge. Did anything pop out to you on his handwriting style or anything?
I mean, yes, that I remember. I actually have it here.
We covered it, yeah.
The one thing that I did is his signature. Mm-hmm. How he signed two differently. And also his last name. And I did not, when I did it, I did not know. Somebody actually approached me later on and told me this. But it's almost like he's ashamed of his last name. And that's what I said, in my opinion. It's like he's ashamed of the last name. He kind of crosses it's very small and crosses it out. and it's not legible. And I said, I think he has problems with his father. He must have issues with his father. Like their father figure, there isn't that connection with the father. And then somebody told me that I think he was adopted, like his real biological. There was something going on with the biological father.
His bio dad didn't raise him.
Yeah, so that was very interesting. Another thing that I did is that he, like, his letters were very close, and that usually means, you know, you don't like being around people. Like it's almost like a phobia with people. And also he's every time he wrote wife, like there was a letter in wife, I don't remember right now, but there was, I think it was a W. You could see everything would match, the baseline, the slant, everything would be the same. But when you got to that word, wife, it was out of character.
Alexa.
So it's almost like he feared his wife. It's almost like he was annoyed and feared, but at the same time, he was annoyed with the wife. Like this, and you can tell the separation of the wife. And I said, you know, and it's weird because everybody, I mean, obviously you don't know, but I don't feel like they might have been married for many years. But in my opinion, I don't think they're as close, or their marriage is as it seems, as picture perfect high school sweethearts thing.
Right.
If you know what I mean. So I think that's what stands out from his handwriting.
Alexa, it was the hook. He kept having this weird hook on the teeth.
Oh,
Like
yes.
a fishing hook.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yes, we call it. Yeah.
Type of thing.
Sorry. Yeah. Yes. The felon's hook.
Got you.
Which is in the Y. Usually, and I always had to explain to them that a lot of when they have done studies, a lot of psychopaths and a lot of serial killers, in the Y they have a hook, and it's called the felon's hook. And Richard Allen actually has it. Now everybody's going to go and Google it. I don't know if I can
want to look that up.
I had a question.
You should. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. Something like. Hold on. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. I see that.
Something like that. Or and also it could be backwards too, and he had it, and that's and that goes into the I don't know, the sexuality and all that stuff that goes into deeper into that too.
Ooh,
so
that's a good question right there. What bed? Blue? Did you have a question for Alexa as well?
Yes. I was going to ask her, from all the cases that she worked on, which one would stand out the most to us, like if we read up about it?
For my career, you mean?
Yes.
There was one very similar to the Delphi case, and I think that's why this case resonates with me. But there were 3 girls. There wasn't 2 girls, and actually the person who unalived them, I have to be careful now that I don't say the word. The person who unalived them dressed them up like really fancy, and set them at the table, almost like a tea party, like almost like an Alice in Wonderland type of theme. And he took the eyes out, and then he did stitches, like like he did like stitches, like it's out of a movie. And I think that case really, really shocked me. Like, I think out of all the cases that I've done, that was the one that I found it the hardest to work. Especially because they were young, and the way that it was so brutal. It was so brutal.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Did he get caught by like something, like an error he did?
He did. He eventually he did. But it was, but he had killed already a couple. I think he killed, 7 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So.
I want to thank you guys, first of all, again, for joining us on our live tonight for the Drunk Turkey Show. Thank you, too, for anyone that's subscribing. And just so you know that now that's a commitment to this channel, that you have to remain subscribed. Just saying. Okay. But anyways, I want to thank everyone again. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for joining in. And thanks again to Daniel and Blue, of course, for being here, and Alexa. I just want to say, and if you guys could hit that like button for us, that would be great. Oh, hey, and you guys, don't forget YouTube Shorts. Well, I guess they started already, but Shorts starts Shorts.
Yeah.
Short. You guys don't really make mini shorts, do you?
We're trying to.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to clip some of our stuff, make some shorts, make like
Yeah.
we've done a little bit. I put like 2 or 3 clips from what we talk about on like TikTok that ended up being, about that 60-second area, and that blew up too. And so
Good.
we
Yeah.
just don't. I just
We
don't get on
tried doing
TikTok very
shorts.
often.
But they blew up, and we ended up talking for like an hour.
Yeah.
We tried.
That's true too. That is true. I have a question
Yeah,
for the
go ahead.
profiler. Do you think that either Richard Allen or Brian Koberger has done this before?
Was that to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear. I don't think neither. I
think it
honestly,
was the
and I
first
know
time?
everybody's very controversial, and everybody thinks it's very controversial. What
I
I'm gonna
agree
say.
with Alexa.
I don't think Richard Allen had killed before. Oh, on a live before. I'm trying to. No, I don't think
It's
so.
pretty hard.
And with Brian, I don't think so either. And I know most people think that both of them, especially Richard Allen, everybody thinks that he has. But judging, no, I would say no. And
Do
I
you
even
think-
said it before he got caught. I said with the type of a crime scene that I think I don't think so. I don't think he has done this before.
Do you think Richard Allen has done it since? He was on the loose for five plus years.
After the Delphi, I never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think a
I
lot
really
of us.
never thought about that, to be honest. Wow. That I don't know. I have to think about it. I would say my instinct wants to say no, but I don't
Just
know.
a one-time thing. And what do you think was Brian's motive?
I always said stalking. I always believed that it was stalking. And I
Gotcha.
always believed that he probably, and I always believed it was Kaylee. But I always believed that he was infatuated, I guess, with one of them. And then there was something triggered him.
Right.
I guess he always had those thoughts. I think he always had those thoughts. He had OCD, so he was always compulsive. So I guess he became infatuated. And I think that something triggered him that decided to go from fantasy to this is the day. And I think he chose that date specifically because I think in a way, I also believe that he was a little bit of a copycat type of offender. And I think he wanted to be, I think he wanted to become as notorious as the offenders that he studied and he read about.
Yeah, I saw that aspect as well. There was a lot of similarities to the folks that he was studying upon, and I felt that date there on the 13th of November was planned prior. I think that it was planned for a while, and I think that he had. How can I put this? So if we were to break down the night of the incident, right? That night there was a football game. It
Right.
was the last home game for the Vandals. It was also Parents Weekend in Pullman for WSU. So there was a lot of people, a lot of presents. There was going to be a lot of parties, things of that nature. But, there was a hit and run outside of his house earlier that night. Cops were all over the scene with that. You're looking at doing this at 3-something in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. There's not like shift change there in Moscow's at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m., 6 p.m. And so there would still be a lot of police presence, a lot of police on alert. I felt that there was a lot of risk in that on that day, except for the fact that I think he planned this. So if he did it the weekend after, I think there was no school due to, or that coming up on that following Monday, if it was the following Monday, due to the Thanksgiving holidays. He set an appointment and kept an appointment with his doctor that weekend, and I believe a hairdress appointment before the end of the year. And Kim, she has a
Dimitri.
She has one of their friends actually attends Brian Kohlberger's class, and he attended school that week. I think those were all intentional and planned out things. He wanted to be seen. He understands the what a criminal typically does, especially after the fact of an incident, returning to the scene, placing themselves into the investigation, all those things, changing in habit, dress, things of that nature, not showing up to work, all those would have sent red flags. And so I think he was trying to be ahead of the game and planned it on this date because, well, he'd have an opportunity to go back to school, keep his appointments. And the one thing that Kim's daughter's friend had stated that Kim spoke to personally, the friend that attends that class, was that he didn't have any scratches or he didn't look like he was in an altercation, which is something that nobody's come up and said. The receptionist at the doctor's appointment didn't talk about his appearance being one that looked like he was in an altercation. None of the students have said that he looked like he was scratched up or cut up. Everybody talks about how his his grading went from being kind of a jerk and very everybody A's.
I'll tell you why nobody at the doctor's office can talk. It's called HIPAA. Because of HIPAA they can't talk to, where I work. I can see a celebrity, and if I get caught talking about the celebrity I see, I get fired and they get fined. So they're not going to talk to the media. So the doctor gets summoned and subpoenaed, and then maybe he has to do a written statement. It's going to be, pretty sure it's going to be only to the courts.
Right. Yeah, and this lady was just the receptionist there that was talking about the time in the waiting room. She talked about him being charming and that it was odd, and they remember him because it was during a time that a lot of people were canceling appointments and rescheduling them because of the incident that had occurred, and that he had kept it and was uplifted and things of that nature.
Do you think that Brian Kohlberger acted alone?
That was going to be my question.
Okay, that was from Adam. I was mimicking what Adam. I'm just like a little puppet here. So Adam said
just with all the informant stuff and the co-defendant stuff that's kind of come about. What do you guys think about that?
Do you have a thought first, Blue, before I go down a rant?
By all means, rant away.
I think he acted alone, but there's I'll let Daniel answer the rest.
You just think he acted alone.
I was pretty long-winded there, Blue.
I think initially everything kind of pointed that he acted alone. I think there's some issues, both with Dylan's statement, kind of about the lack of yelling, screaming, things of that nature. Knowing that there was more than one person awake. You listen to Kim and what she says. I take that with a grain of salt as far as people seeing multiple people outside. However, she was aware and did report, because she did. I'm not sure if you saw this, but she did send me her phone records, and we were able to put those on the air. It's highly redacted. There was a lot of phone numbers and things of that nature that had nothing to do with the case. So we blurred those out or took those out. But she did contact the Moscow Police Department on the 14th and the FBI, I think it was the 15th.
Yeah.
And so the information that she had on those days was that they saw multiple people, and that at least one person was seen inside by one of the victims. And that was information that nobody knew about until the PCA. And so is it possible there was another person in there? Maybe. I have some questions when it comes to the probable cause affidavit. One of them being the 3:26 a.m. sighting of his vehicle heading towards the residence. That is at the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive. That residence is east of the neighborhood in which the 1122 King Road residence is located in. Well, he would have been traveling from Pullman, Washington, which would have been west of Moscow. I don't understand why he's in that neighborhood neighboring the residence. Now, my first assumption would have been that the actor would have gone to the house, circled the house multiple times until he gained confidence to make entry into the house and commit the crime. And that's kind of what he does. He makes a bead from the neighborhood east of the victim's residence. He's seen on one camera, and then crossing Steiner at like 3:28, and then the first time he's seen at the residence is at 3:29. He loops around several times for about 30 minutes, and then parks at 4:04, and then goes in. And so, my question is, why was he in that other neighborhood? I don't like questions like that.
Right.
And then you look at the fact that he's seen heading southbound at 420 on Walenta Drive, and his phone turns on near Blaine, Idaho, off of 95 at 4:48. So that's a 28-minute difference, but it's only about a 10-minute drive between Moscow and Blaine, Idaho. You take into fact the time of night, the fact that he was speeding, things of that nature. There's some missing time there, at least 10 to 15 minutes, or 10 minutes at least. And so, where did he go? Did he go into a neighboring neighborhood? The fact that he doesn't have scratches or things of that nature, to our knowledge, is a big question mark as well. The lack of evidence in his apartment complex was a little bit concerning. They only had, I think, like 12 hairs altogether, and one of them was a dog hair. The red stains on his bed or whatnot, or on his pillow casing, I assume, are bloody noses. He's coming from Pennsylvania, moving to Idaho. Idaho is probably a lot drier. It's fall, winter time. That's going to lead to some bloody noses. I'm assuming that's what was probably on his pillowcase. I'm not sure about the mattress, but Blue had brought up a great thing about that as far as those stains. Blue had stated, given the time frame between the time the incident had occurred and the time that he's reported to have gone home, about an hour and a half later, the blood would have dried and flaked, and not still been wet and stained. And so there's some question marks there with the lack of evidence. I think that they got the guy. I think he, when you look at the circumstantial evidence at whole, it's there. I just hope that it's enough to get a conviction. I have serious concerns about it. But to answer your question, as far as do I think there was more than one person, I am probably 55% thinking that it was him by himself, but I don't put past potentially somebody being there.
Yeah, remember, because he said, like, was there anyone else arrested? Just that little thing, that little nugget that he threw to the wind to basically, remember that?
Right. And here's the other thing. Everybody describes him as being a loner of this, that, and a third, but everybody also describes him as being chatty and lingering around trying to fit in. Well, he talked to a lot of ex-cons that committed violent offenses through his survey. What's the possibility that one of those persons didn't find his chattiness to be, pleasant, or whatever the case you may say? And there might be another guy who has some issues. I mean, you look at who the people he was probably talking to during those surveys. Is it possible that he became friends with somebody who also isn't all there in his head? So maybe he did have a friend.
Oh, just to double check with you guys, and because I know you guys say an hour. Do you have a little bit more time to hang, or no?
Yeah. I'm good.
You're good? Are you good, Blue?
Minutes.
I got about a good 20 minutes. I got to work tonight, so.
Oh, perfect.
Wow.
Yeah. Which celebrity is it again? No, just kidding.
I won't tell. I won't tell.
It's HIPAA. It's HIPAA.
Is it somebody that we might know? Is it somebody in like the rapping music?
No.
I like crystal ball here. Hold on.
Just people that come to San Antonio sometimes, They come in when they get sick.
I'll say this: Jaime's in San Antonio right now, and he's not on screen, so I'm gonna say it's him.
I might see him later. He's the only celebrity I know right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. Before I just dropped Coke all over my kids' new laptops.
Oh no!
My husband wasn't very happy. He's like, "I've never done that before," but oh well.
Can I ask, and Blue or whoever can ask this, but I want to ask you guys, what do you guys think of the whole Jack in the Box? What do they call those drivers again?
DoorDash.
what do you guys think of that whole timing of this time, 4 o'clock, boom, 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 and then there's this small little window of when he was actually in there. Like it was crazy time. Like it just seems like such crazy time.
You would
Like
think that he would have seen another car around the area at that time, because I mean I work overnights, so there is people out there the whole night. I mean there's somebody at my work every 30 minutes to an hour. But yeah, and I'll sit there when I'm slow and I'll look out the window and just see people driving by at like 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Either they're going
right.
home from work, coming home from work, or they just came home from partying somewhere. So I would think they would have more witnesses to this car being there, especially if it's college kids getting home after parties.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe somebody saw him, but I think maybe he didn't, I don't think he had the mask or anything on, probably. He probably put it on as he was entering probably the back door. So, I mean, if you see somebody outside at, 4 a.m. and, it's kind of like he didn't stand out, you know what I mean?
I don't think he was around at the same time. It says approximately 4 o'clock. I'm assuming the DoorDash driver had to take a picture. That had to go through whatever service that he has and to be uploaded. And a picture can take a little bit of a while and get uploaded to the server from DoorDash. So the time that's put it on there might be 3:56. He may have been there at 3:52.
Right.
If he's showing up at 4:04, that's like 10, 12 minutes. And so
plus the food was eaten.
Yeah. And so, there's that aspect of it. Plus, even if it is 4 minutes, I mean, it doesn't sound like a long time, but
it is.
It really is. And a person in a vehicle can get more than a couple blocks away
Oh, for sure.
and not even know that somebody passed him up that it seemed like anything. The police seem to have talked to the DoorDash driver based on the what was the probable cause affidavit. There's nothing in there about him. So I anticipate that being just bad timing.
Right.
I know there was some folks that were putting it out there that they thought that perhaps maybe Brian Koberger had ordered it, but
No.
I don't think so. I think that's super traceable. That would be super traceable, and they would have found him way sooner. I anticipated they were able to figure that he came out of Xana's phone at that time, unless it was. So have y'all read the Airmail article on this situation?
That what, I never read the full thing. We listened to a little bit of the video on it, but go ahead. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They describe Xana and Ethan's face at the scene as being preserved like masks.
Yeah, I've heard that.
What if this guy used their face to open the phone and ordered it before he left, and maybe he wasn't there at that time, or maybe he was there at that time already, and just try to throw some stuff off. I don't know, but that's the only other thing I thought of. Just thinking right now is like maybe this guy ordered it from their phone because he had their access to their to their phones were there, their faces were supposedly preserved.
Yeah.
But I'm a strong believer in, what is it, Occam's razor or razor's edge, something like that nature.
Oh yeah.
Most simplest answer is probably the right one.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes Blue.
I haven't read that. I haven't read that article.
Yeah.
It's extensive. It's like 36 pages. It's written by an author, so it's written out like a short story. So there's a lot.
You guys have to tell me or tag it because I want to read it. I haven't read it.
Yeah. Check it out. We actually covered. So there's two parts to it. There's the first part, which talks.
Oh,
about
is that with hold on? I think
with Howard Blum.
Yeah, I think so.
And then there was a second part that just came out that we just discussed.
Yes. That's what you were discussing last night in your show.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. And so now I know. We're talking about the lack there of evidence. Myself included, for a while there, thought that maybe perhaps the police had more information. But the more I look at the probable cause affidavit and I look at the information that they have and what they're stating and whatnot, I think they put everything out there.
Well, but we're hoping that maybe they didn't put everything in there. Maybe they.
Well, the
I
only
know at
thing
the
that
time, maybe not everything was back, from the labs or everything. That's my opinion. I'm hoping.
right, there's a few things that
Yeah.
are left out that we don't know
Well,
about,
it's
and
like
those things are. Go
one
ahead, Blue.
one thing I wanted to bring up about like DNA and even on our show later, I want to bring it up because there's a story about this missing persons that happened here in San Antonio. She went missing about 6 years ago. It was an elderly lady that went to the flea market and she walked off on her own. She had Alzheimer's. Um, they couldn't find her. Like they did search parties, and then on the property that they thought she was on, um, somebody got hurt, so the owner didn't want nobody else to be on the property. And then a year and a half ago, about 18 months ago, there was a dove hunter on that property who found the skull. So they got the skull. They ended up finding the rest of the body, the rest of the bones, and they sent them into the lab. 18 months this past week, yesterday, the day before, they confirmed to the family it was her. That's how long it took testing to confirm that it was her by
Wow.
doing the studies on her bones.
Because it didn't take priority. Because there's a couple, as it comes in the lab, it takes priority, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's backed up and everything. So that's probably what happened.
Right.
But this
So
was Jane Doe wasn't top of the list.
So, in my opinion, though, in this case, the only thing that is left to be determined is what was found in the car, what were the results from the
Yeah.
lab on the hair and the stains from the apartment complex. Perhaps maybe the
Computer server.
the computer server, the Amazon stick. That they pulled up, which I think what they're looking for is, and I think what the reason why they pulled the Amazon Fire Stick is because I think that they would be able to get into his purchases through Amazon on there.
Yeah.
And so I think they're looking for, if he purchased vans or things of that nature that were that they're aware of that were part of this crime. But they kind of outline everything in the PCA. It's all over the place, but they kind of align everything that they've gotten in the PCA and other articles and sources. What they did was, from my understanding, is the incident happened on November 13th. They probably got footage of a white Elantra. The initial thing that they probably did throughout that time was to check both universities. It wasn't until November 25th when they told WSU, though, Pullman Police Department about the white Elantra. A WSU officer looks through all of the permits, finds one. I'm assuming that they told them that the vehicle didn't have a front license plate. The airmail article kind of reads that into it, that they came up upon his registration, Brian Koberger's, and that when the police officer went out there, he was surprised to have seen that it was Washington plates instead of Pennsylvania ones. Right. It was a 30 minutes, basically, based on that article, from the time that they discovered his that he had registered his vehicle, and it was somewhat matching the description to the point where an officer went out there to go find it and look at it. So there was a little bit of urgency on that specific one. They had, I think, over 90 or something like that Elantras, but that one took precedent, and I'm assuming it's because of the fact that it was registered out of Pennsylvania,
Right.
and that they were aware that it may have not had a front license plate. So they went out there. They took that information, ran the new plates on the Elantra that had changed to Washington, sent it out to Sergeant Payne. He ended up looked up his picture, and based off of his picture of him having bushy eyebrows, he connected dots there, which I'll be honest, I don't think is strong enough evidence to get a warrant out on his cell phone data. It was a they had the description from what Dylan had stated, and so his height, weight, bushy eyebrows, they started watching him. Because of that, he takes off to the Pocono Mountains. They lose him, they find him, that whole fiasco happens. I don't think both of those stops were the FBI. I think one of them was.
Right.
Right. I don't think the first one was. this is a possible suspect in a quadruple homicide. You're not going to go in there and just hang your hands through the window and just hang out with the guy. You're going to be on your defenses, and your demeanor is going to be a little bit more appropriate for the situation than that. So I feel that the first one was probably more by chance.
Yeah.
And so they followed him. They ended up getting a warrant for his cell phone pings or his information. They find out that he doesn't have. He turned his phone off during the commissioning of or during the time frame of the incident that had occurred. And then with that information, they took his dad's trash, and they were able to test his dad's DNA to being the father of the person who left the DNA on the sheath. That was something they also had held close to the vest, so to speak. And based off that, they were able to get off the warrant. And so, you put everything together there. That's step by step on how they were able to do this. There doesn't leave a lot of room for anything else, because in my opinion, if they had something else that would have implicated him sooner, I think they would have arrested him sooner. They arrested him pretty quickly after the DNA came back.
Yeah.
And so, the game in that situation isn't to, I know they want to have a solid case and a conviction, but they also want to take this guy off the streets as fast as possible. And so that's where I think it ends, as far as what we're going to know until probably the trial starts, and they let us know what was found in that apartment and in that car.
Vehicle, yeah.
Well, let's hope that hopefully, sorry to interrupt. Hopefully, they have they found more solid information, more solid DNA. I'm hoping that there was some DNA left, either in his car or at the scene, that it hasn't been that it didn't get processed by the time the probable cause was written. So.
I'll say this. I think that the lack of scratches on him, the fact that they found evidence enough for a Dickie's tag, tells me that there was probably material that was found under the fingernails of the victims, and that material can potentially be traced back to maybe Dickie coveralls or something.
So what do you guys think about my new name there? Somebody just subscribed. Sunny the Flying Cat. Well, you know what? You don't mess with cats. I'll tell you that much for sure.
Right. No, I think that analysis is really good, though. I think especially with the Dickie's part, I think that's probably pretty spot on.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, and you might have seen his name before, but Analysis of a Crime with CD, retired police officer. He's you guys. If you haven't seen him, you guys would love him. He's just a genuine, real deal type of person. That's the kind that we love around here. Just be yourself, and just be yourself and be honest and true and stuff like that to who you are and what you do. And again, have you guys heard of Analysis of a Crime with CD?
I have.
Yeah, he's kind of okay. I don't want to get his ego up too much today. So Big Blue, because I know you have to get running and get going here. What would you be your final thoughts for? I would love to do this again if you guys ever have time and discuss maybe one of the cases, like even the Delphi one, and just do a Delphi night. That would be amazing if you guys would be up for that. Like I said, today, just so you know, Big Blue and Daniel, you guys probably already seen it, but the response from the state for the let to bail, I think it's called, that kind of came out today with basically saying that why he should, of course, not be let out on bail or anything like that. So that was really the only thing that kind of popped out today in regards to the Delphi case. I did put out the crime scene video that I made on a series, because a lot of people get the coordinates confused and where the actual crime scene truly happened versus the water. So I did put that out today as well. And it's just because you know what? I want to ask this one. Blue, one second. Why would they put the coordinates? They're talking about the trail and where the girls were. But the coordinate, see, that's a trick again. Blue likes
Blue's good at that. He's good at disappearing right when he has to answer a question.
It's funny, and we think it's funnier. But why would they put the coordinates close to the crime scene, but yet talk about it like why would they put it in the search warrant? Why would they do that?
In the search warrant?
Well, like for Ron Logan.
For Ron Logan.
So in that, I'm just curious why. So when you plunk in the coordinates that they have, where they're talking about the girls being on the trail, in the Monon Bridge, those are totally different coordinates than the coordinates that they put in. The coordinates that they put in are similar to where the crime scene is, but not. They're very close. Let me put it that way. What looks, I don't know, it's on the map. So what looks to be about maybe 50 feet away.
A mistake.
Yeah, it's probably just clerical error. I'm not surprised by a lot of. At the end of the day, a lot of these officers are human, or all of them are human.
Exactly. And that's the thing is
they
here
make
a lot of
mistakes.
A lot of people always when they read something, they're like, yeah, but it says staging on the probable cause or on the affidavit, and I'm like, don't take the word so serious because they're human, and sometimes they use words interchangeable, posting, staging, interchangeable, and that doesn't mean that it's written in stone, unless you hear in court, and even in court, but in court it's more because then you have to strike it, and it's more. But they.
I wanted to apologize. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. Welcome back.
the feds got me again. Those feds just keep
again.
They don't want me to talk. They don't want me to talk.
Yeah, it's the deep seated there. Yeah. Okay. So, Big Blue, again. I mean, like I said, thank you so much for this live. First of all, there's 458 people in chat. There's 298 likes. When you guys are given the likes, remember, it's not just for this channel. It does help the algorithm. It helps, for people that are viewing this, but it also helps the other channels such as Drunk Turkey Show, of course, because again, it spreads to the different people as well. So if you guys could show your love by hitting that like button, we would appreciate it. And of course, when I hit !drunk, that brings up for anyone that isn't subscribed to the Drunk Turkey Show. Of course, check them out. If you've never heard of them before, go check them out. Again, real chill guys, real deal, and love their content. That's, like I said, I hadn't heard of you, but then there's many channels I haven't heard of still. I kind of keep my head down and in the ground as I'm always looking for things, but it's been a pleasure, first of all.
Thank you.
Truly, I love different. We all do. I love debates. I love just ideas, like things that you said today. I'll go back and watch the show, Daniel, and kind of think about those things myself. Because many brains are better than one, and sometimes you don't think about things. But and same with you, Big Blue there. And even though I know you must be getting tired of this in and out thing that they're doing to you. Must be scary. Yeah,
I thought I bought the fix. I bought the Ethernet cord, the 50-foot one to go all the way to my router. I have a direct wire to my computer, laptop. It's like, it's StreamYard. StreamYard does not like me. No matter what show I'm on, I get kicked off every single time. So I apologize, but it happens to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys ever do members lives?
We haven't. We've done member shows.
Okay.
Our member shows are basically a little bit of a backstage type of stuff where we record ourselves talking and kind of thinking out loud about the case as far as,
that's interesting.
putting the case together.
It's not about Blue and a
like behind the scenes kind of thing. I like that.
Right.
That's where you really can pull back some of these. But anyways, Big Blue, again, I know you said you have to get going on here, but what would your last thoughts be towards either Delphi or both or Idaho or anything? I don't care if you want to talk about fishing for a second. Go right ahead.
First of all, what kind of fish are in that Delphi River there? But no, I'm just joking.
Obviously.
I know. I always thought it was crazy that Richard Allen said he was up there on the bridge looking at the fish. I've been fishing a lot, and you can't be on a bridge looking at them, but it's not the best view. So that's what threw me off. I didn't believe his story from there. They look like minnows from the top, how high that bridge is.
Yeah, which we always keep hearing different things, but let's just go in the middle and say about 70 feet.
Okay, that's pretty high. You wouldn't be able to see the fish. It'd be like minnows.
No,
it threw me off. I said, I'm looking at the fish, and I seen the videos on how it is. I'm like, he was doing something else out there. So I think they got the right guy when it comes to Delphi.
Yeah, unfortunately, I probably didn't know better because it was the first case I truly dived into, and I totally called out someone. I was like, you're not getting away with it, dude. But you know what? I am not a dumb person by any means, and I usually would never ever blast someone, But I was pissed off, and I was like, you guys can't even solve this case. Like, really, you guys suck, type of thing. And I was like, you're showing us two different pictures, and then you go back at the end of the day to the old guy and blah blah blah. But anyways, before that, I learned my lesson. Okay, learned my lesson. But I love deep diving into it. I really do deep dive when I deep dive. I enjoy it. It's like a puzzle to me that you're just trying to put the pieces together to understand it. No different than Idaho. You're just trying to make sense of it. Now, I love a good debate, and I love good discussions, and I love good. I take everything with a grain of salt, but I cannot stand those far-fetched ideas that are way out in Mars, and Pluto and all those ones. I like to keep it grounded, and usually the truth is somewhere, of course, wherever there's smoke, there's fire usually. But I like to kind of keep the truth to what's been out there or what makes sense or common sense.
Yes.
And not like some of these things there's just some really wacko things that go on, but I like to kind of keep it grounded, just stick with kind of what and then I don't know, unless you guys like to go out there.
No, I like to listen to the facts, but sometimes like I was saying, Danny, like with Kim, she goes all over the place, and the stories go on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
We have to break it apart and get the facts out of it. It's just with anybody.
And that's one of the things I think I like about you guys. And I think that's something that, because you always, you theorize and everything, but never deviating too far from the truth or from the facts, what you know. And it's okay, like we respect everybody, and obviously anybody's entitled to their opinion. But I mean, some of the stories, when they try and implanting things that or nitpicking little things, like why did the police didn't do this, or the police didn't have the camera on, or they turn it, or they didn't see the shift, or whatever it might be. And I think that's and it is respectable. But I think especially in this whole YouTube, it creates more problems, because then it kind of snowballs and it becomes like those theories, and kind of happened before Richard Allen, before he got arrested, how everybody thought it was Tony Klein. And it started with one person, and then even the podcasters, the murder sheet went on and started saying it was him, and and I think that's what I like, that you guys are responsible, because you guys have a responsibility. You have almost close to 30,000 people that watch you, so that's a big responsibility, that you have to keep it factual. And deviate. So I really appreciate. Thank you very much again for having me, Sunny and Adam, and thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. It was truly, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
And wait, sorry, Big Blue, did you even finish your thought or no?
Yeah. I don't talk a lot. I just want to say.
I know, but I'm that person that makes you. Because Daniel, I can see can easily too, but I know that you're the quieter one there. So I didn't want to make you, of course, feel excluded. So because I know that
I like to listen, and I break down everything in my mind, and that's what I do anywhere I'm at. I'll listen, break down, and I'll theorize what I think should what the outcome is. Yeah,
absolutely. Daniel, go ahead.
I got a question about Delphi real quick.
Sure.
Richard Allen is seen on camera by the Hoosier store, hardware store, traveling, westbound on 300 North.
Yeah.
Where was he coming from? Why would he be traveling that direction on that road?
Instead of from his home, per se?
Yeah, it was home, town, work. Anywhere else in Delphi, it doesn't have him coming that direction. Now, one thing that I've been thinking about was clothes. It was described as a warmer day. He was dressed bundled up, and this is why I also had asked earlier, you think he'd done it before or since? I think he'd been stalking all day that morning somebody, whether it was his girls or somewhere else, maybe another park or something, trail nearby, something west
Could have been. Yeah.
of Delphi that would have him traveling down that road. That's one question that bothers the living crap out of me about this case is why is he coming that direction on that road at that time? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Did you say he was heading west or coming from the west?
He was heading west.
He was heading west.
Yeah.
On 300 North.
Yeah.
He lives west.
So now let me ask you a question.
No,
quickly.
he lives like southeast.
He was coming down.
Yeah, he lives east. He was traveling from the east to the west, further west than his house, further west than where he would have had to have traveled, whether he was, at CVS at work or anywhere in Delphi, he wouldn't be traveling from that direction. Why is he coming in that way? That bothers me, and that bothers me about this case.
Well,
could it be that he was meeting with somebody else? Maybe could have been.
I mean, that's possible.
So do you think that do you think this attack was targeted then, or do you think it was just random? The girls happened.
Well, there's two parts to that. I felt that you look at the time frame in which he arrived, and the time frame in which the girls arrived, and him walking at a steady pace, described by the three juveniles, that leads me to believe that he was waiting. That he got word at a certain time to go there. I think it was planned. My question is, why was he so dressed up on a warmer day unless he was out somewhere else? Maybe it wasn't
that
planned.
he had his unaliving kit with him. Like ropes, knives, gun, and everything that obviously.
Maybe, but why would that lead him to be traveling from that direction?
Right.
Yeah.
I always thought that maybe he met with somebody.
Well, one of the locals that lives in Delphi says he was avoiding the Delphi city cameras, which I don't know Delphi well enough to know where the cameras are in town, other than there's one at the Harvest store. So Daisy, that very well may could be.
Well, he didn't go back through that.
Right.
They don't describe that on the PCA that he went back through the 300 North heading east, and so he would have, those cameras he was avoiding, he ran right into them if, he was worried.
Yeah, isn't it like, honestly, because I've thought of those thoughts. Of course, I've thought of many things, and there's that little piece of me that goes, there's that little piece, but it's because of the whole Kagan Klein and the whole seeming like plan thing. But I believe it was planned regardless. But there's that little piece in me too, Daniel, that kind of says, were Libby and Abby the actual targets, or was just somebody that day going to be a target? But then when you look at the totality of Kagan Klein stuff and the whole, it's a mind mess is what it is.
Well, the other thing that makes you think that they were the targets was the part where they were talking with their other friend that didn't go with them, about meeting up with that guy.
The Max Snowberger, correct?
I believe so. I think this was targeted. I just
wanted to say bye, guys.
Bye, nice meeting you.
Oh,
it's I think 32 degrees here in Texas, which doesn't happen that often.
Ooh.
It's a little rainy, so I got about 20-mile drive to get to work. So
Let me know when you make it, buddy.
All right.
Thanks for the trick show, too. Thanks.
I'm working on it. Thanks.
Okay. Daniel, did you need to go too, or do you want to hang out still a little bit? It's up to you.
Yeah, I can hang out for another 10 minutes.
Hey, there we go. We're all popped right there now. Bye, Big Blue. Thanks, buddy.
We are streaming on both of the channels, so if anyone that's not subscribed, either to It's a Crime and Shame or my channel, Aspen Connor, if you could please subscribe, I appreciate it.
And the Drunk Turkey Show, just hit !drunk, and then that will pop up to subscribe over to that channel. I really do appreciate the people that have come over from your channel to join us today. Thank you. Like I said, I mean, I keep hearing the subscriber bell go off or whatever. So I want to say I appreciate that. We do cover, like I said, the Idaho. We do cover Delphi, and we are, like I said, diversifying and covering some other cases and keeping up to date with Anna Walsh and the different ones that are going on out there as well. But again, truly appreciate that Daniel and Big Blue. Sorry, Jamie, sorry you're not here, dude. Enjoy that concert, though. Are joining us today. Truly appreciate it. Always love talking about these cases and just hearing other people's thoughts.
Right.
There we go again. So whatever else you want to talk about, to be honest with you, Daniel, like, is there any other thoughts you wanted? Whoops. See, it's all your subscribers coming over. Thank you.
Yeah. Just that. I mean, there was a lot of, issues that I think when you look at, for instance, the information that they have on Ronald Logan, on Keegan Kline, I thought that they had enough circumstantial evidence to probably arrest one or two of those guys. Now, I factor in that they probably figured out Ron Logan was not the guy, probably shortly after they did the search and didn't find anything. Had something popped up in that search based on all the circumstantial evidence that they had at the time. I think they would have arrested him right there on the spot. But they didn't find him. So I don't think, I know there's some folks that think he was involved in some form or fashion, or allowed something to happen at his house. I honestly don't think that he was
seems
that
pretty
involved.
absurd. Yeah. I mean, I've never been able to exclude or include him, more towards the excluding, but it's just because I didn't have anything to really rule him fully out. So I just kind of let him lie to the side myself, because when you look at, again, just common sense, is Ron Logan really gonna, want to be part of two girls that we are saying unalived at the moment, because YouTube, how YouTube works and demonetization was, or you know what I mean. But anyways, and then so there's that, and then obviously with his lying there, I mean, that really is what unfortunately put a big wrench in the starting of this, really, because of that lie which transpired. But there's so many things that don't make sense to why he would be involved. But what's crazy, Daniel, is you have FBI agents, ex-FBI agents, like Jennifer Coffindaffer. Okay, she's all over the news talking about Ron Logan's part of it. Even Barbara McDonald. So there was this video Discord that she was part of, and I don't know much about Discord myself. Adam said you have to be verified with a number. Sorry. I'm just trying to make you feel at home with that cop sound, just by the way.
So you won't miss your work.
So there's it's so crazy how some of these, like, especially like an FBI agent, is still going on about how Ron Logan is either the BG or a part of it. I don't know.
See, I don't see there's a world where Richard Allen is involved and Ronald Logan is BG, bridge guy, because that would mean one or two things. And I've heard these theories where they're saying that Ronald Logan is the guy on the bridge. So you mean to tell me that the 77-year-old guy is the one that decided to go do the kidnapping, while the 45-year-old guy, or however old Richard Allen was at the time, stayed at Ronald Logan's house and waited for him? And even if that's not the case, let's just say they both decide to go to the bridge. You're going to let the 77-year-old guy approach these girls on that long bridge, high bridge, and kidnap them when you have the 40-something-year-old option. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, the only way that Ron Logan can be involved, in my opinion, is if he was involved and the plan was to bring the girls back to his place for other nefarious reasons.
Right.
And Richard Allen lost control of the situation and something went awry. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so that's the only logical explanation that I can see where it involves Ronald Logan.
Correct.
But it would answer one question, though, just kind of throwing that out there, is that could be why Richard Allen is traveling west to east on 300 North, because that's the direction from Ronald Logan's house.
That's true. I mean, right, because there's that slight bit in there for me. There's that slight bit of something there for me with Ron Logan. Not that I think he is not the BG.
Right.
Doesn't even look like the BG whatsoever. Even though the clothes and the hat, total throw off. I can understand why people followed that lineup, but honestly, again, I deep dive into the pictures and stuff like that. But even I think a basic person looking at it, there's no old guy face in there, really. Like, not a 77-year-old man traipsing across the bridge on his own land and go, oh, you know what? Let me just end them here. right on my own.
Right.
But I mean, we do have to say for his age, he was in good shape. And even Barbara McDonald said that, he knew he went up and down without any trouble and even helped her. So,
yeah,
I mean, age, I understand the age factor. But I mean, for somebody usually farmers and people like him in that part, they are kept in very good shape.
The only problem with that is this would require muscle work and things of that nature that he's not used to having, and doing that with two subjects would leave him sore in places he's not normally used to being
I'm not saying
sore.
I don't
And
believe he's the one.
yeah, there is no indication of him being sore or any of
Yeah.
those things shortly after the incident. That's where that part goes to me. I don't think he was. I was just saying that the only thing that would lead that direction would be it would answer the question of where Richard Allen was coming from, and maybe answer some questions. But I don't think he will. In my opinion, I don't think he was involved. But with today's technology, you should be able to determine where Libby and Abby were when that video was taken, where the perpetrator was, and determine based on the measurements of that bridge how tall this person was. There's a significant difference.
That's exactly what I said it last night. Exactly. I don't understand this mistake, because they have programs and apps that I know they plug it in and they take into consideration everything, and they can have. So I don't understand where the mistake was. I mean, in this case, I believe there's a mistake after mistake, and I'm not shading law enforcement.
It's tunnel vision.
I applaud, I believe, I respect them and everything, but I just believe that they were not equipped to handle a case like this, in my opinion. I don't think they were. And I know the FBI was involved, but I think the FBI got tunnel vision and they thought it was Ron Logan, and they just stuck with that. And I don't know if they just wanted to solve the case or they wanted answered. I don't know. I really can't answer on that. Yeah. But I mean, with the Ron Logan, I mean, and we were talking, I think last night, I mean, you think he would unalive them and leave them in his property? That makes no sense. I would at least leave them in my neighbor's property. I wouldn't leave them in my own property.
Well, no, exactly. That's just
so ridiculous. That's just so dumb. Like, there's like not even any way of thinking that. So no, I don't even think he knew about it. I think he just lied to cover his butt because he didn't want to go to prison. He didn't want to go to jail. Yeah. Exactly what happened to him.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I'm just hoping that one day we'll see the truth. Now, Daniel, there is some mathematicians. I just want to get that in there because I have the calculations that were done by the mathematicians that determined that the BG was 5'10.5 inches. That's a heck of a difference between 5'6", 5'8", even. Like, meaning if a classroom and their teacher that are mathematician little geniuses over there,
they should be fired.
Like I have the whole measurement thing, but it's like
why didn't the police check it? That's my thing. Is why didn't the police or the FBI checked it? Because they're supposed to.
I would have assumed that they would have. I haven't seen any diagrams done to determine his height and what they did to figure out his height. So I'd have to watch that to see if they do suspect that the bridge guy was 5'10".
Yeah, I mean, I'll send you over the. I was sent this a long time ago, back in the time when they were talking about that they had either asked or used mathematicians to figure it out, or whatever, or they just figured out one of the two had happened. I can't remember; it's been so long. But yeah, like I have the calculations for it. I'll send them over to you. I'll have to dig for them because they're from like 2 years ago, at least. But anyways, I mean, there's definitely a lot of inconsistencies. And that's too big of a word for me. I'm just gonna. It's not falling off my tongue too well. There's definitely a lot of things with this case that just really are mind-boggling, to say the least. Tell me about this one, Daniel. They pull out this old guy sketch, right? 40, 45, 55. They come back, and then they put out this basically a 20-year-old guy. Now, we know from Max Snowberger that Libby was talking to a 19-year-old off Snapchat. So they do that, right? And I'm thinking, okay, you know what? They would never do this to the family ever unless they were right about this change of direction and switching gears and all that stuff. And then when I'm not sure if you watched it, you probably did, when Doug Carter was on that radio show. I can't think of their names. He was on that radio show, and he's like, and he basically looks at the guy and he says, "So what do you think about the fact that you had this young guy sketch and then this?" And he's like, he said something like,
Put them
"Ain't
together.
that something, or ain't that something, eh?" And I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Ain't that something, eh?" No.
My whole theory on that is it's not so much of what a witness saw as much as who their suspect was. Initially, their suspect was Ron Logan. And so they put out a sketch that looked similar to Ron Logan, so that way he could drive the memory of the potential witnesses that were around at that time. In 2019 is when that sketch changed. It was also around the same time that officers were talking to Keegan Kline. And I think Murder Sheet put out a pretty extensive, documentation of the transcript of that conversation. And in there, the police are they suspect that there's at least two people that are involved with the account. Now, they're I don't want to say tunnel vision, but their train of thought at that time was leaning towards Tony Kline. If you look at that picture, in my opinion, it looks more like Tony Kline than anybody else. That second one, I think that was the suspect that they had in mind, and they put out a picture out there to jog the memory, or maybe perhaps bring out someone's like, hey, I think I did see somebody that looked like that, around that time. And so in my opinion, those sketches are more so the person that they had a person of interest versus somebody saw. I know that there was 3 juveniles that stated they saw somebody, but even their description of who that person was varied from the color of the clothing that they were wearing to the color of their hair, things of that nature. And so, in my opinion, that's what it was. It wasn't so much anybody saw.
Well, I was going to say, so Miss Weber, the land that obviously looks down upon the crime scene. So Julie Melvin is, a huge has been with the Delphi case since the beginning. Actually, she's, I think is she the aunt of Cody?
I'm not sure, but okay. I think I've seen some of her content. Yeah.
Yeah. So my question to you is this. So Miss Weber talks about a secondary person that was there that had not like a different ethnic skin, but just a little bit darker skinned, like maybe like say a tan, let's say between my skin and your skin in a sense, a little bit more darker. So, when someone's kind of like that close to home in living in the Delphi area, and Miss Weber, what do you think about that? Like I really don't think that Richard Allen acted alone. I personally don't. And so what do you think about that? I mean, if you did hear it before.
I don't think Richard Allen acted alone to a certain extent. I think that the crime itself was by one person, but I think that there was more involved to get the girls there at the bridge. And I think that involvement was with Keegan Kline. Yeah, I think, the police talk a lot about that there was a potential person there, that an older gentleman that was also using the account, the words, the phrases, punctuation, things of that nature were different. They were barking up the alley that it was his father. I'm not too entirely certain that's the case. I think it may have been Richard Allen. And this may be a guy that perhaps maybe Keegan Kline has never met personally or anything like that. Kids do some weird things. And one thing that they were doing around that time was they would sell accounts. And now this was something that was completely different in this situation, but somebody would build an Instagram or a social media account to have X amount of followers, and then they would sell that account to other people. I wouldn't be surprised that, perps were using the same tactics to solicit minors and things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, okay. You know what? So what do you think about the ski mask incident? That it was said that the ski mask incident, because of that phone call, And so because the girl, say from the ski mask incident, which is Libby's friend, a week later she invited that Anthony Shots account, I guess, over to her, whatever. And that's how they figured out that that belonged to Kagan Klein and that he was part of the largest child ring in Indiana. What are your thoughts about that whole ski mask incident?
They didn't catch that guy, right? They just somebody
No,
that
we've
little
never
girl
seen
reported it.
nothing on it.
Yeah, I've never seen proof of anything.
Right. So
I'm not saying that didn't happen,
But did you know, Daniel, that back in 2010, right near the Klein's home, literally, those 2 other ski mask incidents happened? Did you know that?
I knew of one, and I knew
Two.
one of the ski
Yeah.
mask incident that occurred was with somebody who was at the slumber party.
That's a different one. Yeah, that would be 3.
Yeah, that person. I thought that was the person that opened up this entire case.
That's true.
That's
right.
what they
That's
said
what
in
we
the
said.
interrogation.
Correct.
Right.
But right. So this is what's strange is back in 2010, there was a lady named Mrs. Miller, and I can't think of the other one. The clients lived right across the road so it happened within the same block. Okay, these within a week of each other. Now, the Kleins did live across the road, but they had moved down, just literally down the road onto farmland within a couple of minutes away. And that's where 2 ski incidents happened at that time. So to hear of this one for Delphi and then Kagan Klein's attachment, even though Kagan Klein would have been a little boy at that time, but we all know Tony's been talked about as being definitely a child prowler, just by the stories that have been told by siblings and whatever. But anyway, so it just strikes me as very odd. Of course, just another thing to add to the pile of coincidences that this ski mask incident happens. The Kleins lived right near those other 2, like in 2010, and then that happens. And that's how the investigation did open up to go to Kagan Klein, was because of she had given her address. So obviously it had to come from,
that account. Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think that there's probably some sort of connection there. There's been theories there that the person, I mean, I've heard rumors and stuff on the dark web that the person that was really the target was that young lady at the slumber party, and she was supposed to be there, and this, that, and a third. Plausible, possible. Most likely, maybe. Those are some tough questions to answer. But I mean, there hasn't been a lot of reports of ski mask people in that area, has there, since then?
Not that I know of.
I don't think so.
Okay, so Keegan Klein left that area and then got arrested, and so there's a possibility that he was the guy in the ski mask. Now, didn't they have Keegan Klein pinged or connected to a Wi-Fi somewhere else during the commission of the crime?
Yeah.
His cousins.
Where does his cousin live?
Not far from his grandparents. His grandparents live off hike, and so this was on Country Club Road.
2 secs.
Now, see, I'm not familiar with all of those addresses and stuff. Was that going to be
It was like a mile away?
A mile away from
His grandparents. He said he was at his grandparents that day, and so his cousin's house was about a mile away from his grandparents' house, and his phone was logged into the Wi-Fi.
Now, this is in Delphi or in?
It's in Peru.
Peru.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Peru is like what, an hour or so away?
It's like 45 minutes. We have a lot of locals that follow the channel, so I'm sure someone will tell me if I'm incorrect, but I think it's like 45 minutes.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, would Richard Allen travel through? Well, see, if Richard Allen went out there and met with them, would that lead a logical route that would have him passing on 300 North westbound? That's where I'm getting at. I'm not sure where Peru is compared to.
Peru is east of Delphi, I believe.
About 30 minute
Are any locals right now on the channel that can answer that question?
For which?
The one that he has, that if Richard Allen would have went to meet with Kagan, would have come from that direction when he was seen on camera?
Yeah, is there a route there directly to, the Hoosier Harvard store where he was seen in front of? Because, like I said, that's the one thing, the one question mark that has really bugged me throughout this entire,
It's an hour.
us looking at it, is why was he traveling from that direction? Like, where's he coming from? He's traveling. He gets there. It wasn't a short time afterwards where these girls showed up.
Right.
And so,
it's a 47-minute mile drive. It takes 1 hour to drive, and it's pretty much due east if you're on 300.
So that could explain why he was traveling in that direction if he was out
Not
there.
on 300.
But as far as the ski mask stuff, if it's possible that I think I saw in the live chat somebody said that it was a taller, thinner guy. Then that might mean to me that this guy was really selling this account to other people. If there's another description of another person seen outside somewhere else, so it kind of puts all those things into question. And so, yeah, if he was traveling from east to west, then that could put him traveling westbound on the 300 north. But that was something that I had questioned. Maybe he met up with them. Maybe he met up somewhere in between, in the middle, at a trail east east of the that park where the crime was committed. And so,
because of their whole marathon gas station thing of that day when he Googled the marathon gas station. Again, that's something that Murder Sheets, I think, put out there, but we're just going by, say, their sources, what they're saying.
Right.
Could be very well true. But, I like to see things official before I actually truly believe them. Just take it with a grain of salt, like with anything, but, give more credibility when it's, from obviously someone that, when Murder Sheets kind of came out, people started, messaging them a lot, of course, to give them information. And they like to say that, or I should say that they verify their sources by a couple, before putting stuff out and stuff like that. So probably true.
It's hard. It's hard to vet people, There's only so much you can vet.
Very hard.
Correct. There's only, like, for instance, with Kim, a lot of people were kind of giving, not so much us flack, but like, for instance, we had the Chronicles of Olivia. She went and spoke with her, and she got a lot of flack because of her connection to the Gonsalveses, and her doing an interview, and I think it was just a difference of what she put out there. Like, when we talked to her, we understood that there was a lot of speculation.
Yeah.
And Olivia's episode, well put together, but it kind of focused in on some of the speculation that she put together. And and this is what I try to tell like a lot of folks, was you have to understand who you're talking to when it came to like him. You're talking to a mother of 2 children who attend a university that's nearby. If you don't think that she wasn't going to be vested into that city and into the crime, not just since November 13th,
right,
but before, then you're out of your mind. So she's been looking into a lot of things and hearing a lot of different stories over the last 3.5 years as her daughter is fixing to graduate. And so, it's not just hearing about Moscow and Pullman since November 13th. It's about hearing it since 2019. And in that time frame, she's heard about Sam Martinez, who was a frat guy that ended up passing, and had something to do with fraternities. She's heard about Hannah Claire, Hudson Lowe, Brent Kopeka, this new guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. That was just
the one at WSU.
Yeah, found in a dorm. Yes, the Idaho4 incident. So there's a lot of mysterious. Luke Tyler, there we go. Yes. So there's a lot of mysterious stuff that's going around there. And so she's going to be well vested into the area. She's probably listened to and watched as many crime shows as we have. And, if she doesn't come up with her own, dot connecting, then she's not human. So, I understand that
he also was a fraternity brother.
Who is?
Luke Tyler.
Yeah, he was. And so, you gotta have to, all right, separate what was told to her and what she put together herself and what she's heard. And so,
Right.
and that's basically the angle that we were trying to approach it by.
Yeah.
And there's only a few things you can do when it comes to vetting. So what I was able to vet was who she was, her name,
Yeah.
the fact that she has children that attend that school, and that her connection to the two individuals that she claimed had given her daughter information. Was there a connection there? And I was able to connect all those dots. And then I had what I thought was, smart, a good idea to have somebody else vet her, so it's not just my word. And so when Olivia reached out to me and asked me if she can talk to Kim, and that the Gonsalves had some questions for her as well, I felt that was a good opportunity for somebody else to vet her as well.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, we did that both ways. That way she could, get that information. So that way people didn't think it was somebody named Pam, which is all my mistake. I am super bad with names, which is why I haven't really said
I'm better with
anybody's name.
faces. Yeah.
And it's not so much I'm bad with names. Sometimes I'll get a name wrong, and sometimes it happens. And when it gets stuck in my head, it's just going to continue to be that. Like, for instance, there was a player for the Pittsburgh Steelers named Vance McDonald, but everybody that knows me is calling him Vance Jackson, which is a street here in San Antonio.
Oh,
and a street that I used to live nearby. And so I call him Vance Jackson for years. Like, you can ask, my wife or anybody that knows me. If I say, yeah, man, he no longer plays anymore, but if I said, yeah, Vance Jackson, had a good game, they know who I was talking about. My brother-in-law, Thomas, I cannot stop calling him Travis.
Yeah, I know.
It just happens. And so
probably part of that dyslexia.
Yeah. And so, folks thought, one thing or another. And so I thought that it was probably in the best interest that somebody else vets this person, somebody who has some credibility. And I didn't think anybody other than Olivia, given the fact that she had that interview with Steve and the family.
Yeah.
And so we were able to vet all that information out. She gave us her phone records that indicated she did contact the police department and FBI in the time frame that she said she did. And so, the rest of it, we just have to take with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
What she says. I think I certainly believe that she was told these things. How much of what she was told is 100% truth is up for debate.
Right.
Well, couldn't you have seen, like, did you ever see the message that said that it came in around 10 or whatever time? Like, did you ever see that actual message?
No, it was a phone conversation that she had with her daughter. She's these kids are her youngest kids. She is a 7-time grandma. And so she's a little bit older than what people are expecting. When they think of they're probably expecting, her kids are in her 20s, that she's probably somewhere in her late 40s. Right. That's not the case. And so, she's does a lot of the calls and stuff like that. And so,
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I was watching that live, I wasn't there during the live. I'd watched like the replay, because that's when I actually, like I said, even heard of the Drunk Turkey show. But I could tell, and the next day, I think when you kind of broke it down a bit, I mean, I could tell, because there was things that she was saying that maybe had some little bit of more towards factual, or possibility of more factual, versus she did have a lot of speculation as well to go with that.
Right.
I mean, it was a little bit all over the map at some points there, like, meaning to me, because I don't live there. So I'm kind of like, I was, listening to the whole substance area thing. And then I think she was talking about a church and.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a lot of rumors and things of that nature that happened that night. She talked about Black Lives Matter, and she had brought that up in our conversation, apparently during the, and she talks very fast and sometimes mixes some things. But what she had told me about that situation was at the game, somebody was waving, and she said she was at the game, that she physically saw this. That somebody at some point was waving a Black Lives Matter flag, and that rumors started to speculate, after that weekend that they had something to do with it. She never said that that's what she was told or any of those things. From what I understand, from what she told me, and from what I understood from her, was that she had seen the flag. She knew that there was something there because I guess Moscow and the fraternities and the sororities have been known to be not so diverse. And if you go and watch their videos, there's not a lot of diversity there, especially when it comes to the fraternities and the sororities. It doesn't mean that that's on purpose or anything, but to the outside world or whatnot, that could be perceived that one way or another. And so I think there was some rumors that were speculated based on that, but I don't think there was any merit to it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say everything, like for me too, everything is like a grain of salt. And then you take all those little salts, you try to compile them into maybe a puzzle, and put the pieces together of what would make the most sense. And then some of it, even if it is true, you toss it to the side because maybe you can't.
Well, I'll ask you this real quick.
Sure.
Before the PCA, if somebody told you someone saw somebody inside that house and then call the police for 8 hours, would that make sense?
Nope.
I was pretty surprised by the PCA.
Yeah, I remember we read it on air that day, and I remember being like, we both kind of stumbled over that part because we were reading it. We're like,
yeah.
That is, I think I kept harping on that point, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because it's just the oddest, darnest thing. I can't make sense of it. No matter how many things that people say, it doesn't make sense. And I was always taught by my grandma, if it doesn't sound right to the ear, it's because it's off. And
but trauma is weird. I mean,
yeah,
no, it is
hard, but
it's weird. But still, when your gut kind of says that there's something that's not being said or something else, you know that something else is going to come of it at some point to say, and for us to go,
And I actually, and on that live, I actually said that. I said, unless she had something that she didn't want the police to see it. And I remember I got a lot of slack. People were like, oh, well, you were insinuating, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want to go that route. But if you see that live, I actually said that.
I mean, the defense is going to travel up that alley, and they're not gonna care about the public.
And the fact that they called and they contaminated the scene.
Right. And the defense is going to go at that statement. They're going to go at why you didn't call. They're going to look at the fact that, and I know it's a big controversy right now because it seems like it's a conflict of interest, but, Kohberger's attorneys represented, some of the parents of the victims for drug offenses. And, you have all those things leading up to the fact that there's a possibility of potential drugs. I mean, you have the fact that their sorority was on probation. You have the fact that they've had hundreds of people at that house all hours of the night.
Yeah.
Police called there many times. I mean, college parties and fraternities. I highly doubt you're going to find one that doesn't have or has had at least at one point somebody bring drugs to a party.
Right.
Yeah. I think it happens more often than not. And, and in that community, you're looking at the parents of a couple of these victims that have a drug problem, at least at one point in their life. And so it's present in that community. It's known that, kids growing up experiment. And so it's not too far-fetched that those things were present, but that doesn't mean that this case or this incident happened or occurred because of it. I tend to think that Brian Kohberger was not so much a copycat, but idolized and wanted to become one of these guys. There's a lot of comparisons with a lot of different SKs that are out there.
Yeah, especially Ted Bundy.
Right. 28, 4 people. That's BTK, sorority house, Ted Bundy, police officer trying to be a police officer, Golden State Killer. So there's a lot of it there. If he persuaded anybody to do this for him, it's Manson. And so there's those characteristics of it. But to me, I think it was more something like that. I think he was stalking these people. And I think that if not been for the DNA on the sheath,
Right.
they really wouldn't have anything on him. You know, a lot of people are saying a lot of weird stuff. Like I've seen a lot of people comment, "Oh, I know a lot of PhD people who are stupid and this and that." I'm like, man, I don't know any PhD guy who's not intelligent or woman or person.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't foresee this guy being a dumb person either. And so, especially when you look at the not the category, but the subject that he was studying in.
Yeah.
The thing is, the difference is between, and a lot of people don't understand this. There's a difference between being book smart and street smart.
I was just gonna say, book smart.
And that's exactly what he is. He is book smart,
Book smart.
but he's not street smart. So I think that's where the whole confusion, and because he left the sheath.
I think he might be inexperienced when it comes to the knife sheath.
Also
that knife sheath went through. Usually you would wear that on a belt buckle and a belt, but that is an uncomfortable thing for somebody who's not accustomed to it, especially in the driving position. So my belief is that he took it off and had it in his pocket because of the fact that he wasn't comfortable or used to having it on his belt. And so, right. And so, you're looking at the lack of evidence outside of him leaving the sheath and being seen on a handful of cameras. I mean, the other thing is turning his phone off and on during the commission of the crime.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That's a big one. But, that comes with the knowledge of thinking that you're going to get caught. He doesn't think he's going to get caught, and what's the point of turning his phone off or on?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess you plan for that, just in case. But my assumption is he probably thought, why would they ever look at me if he had no connection?
I don't match that. PhD student. I got it. What about those messages that pop online? The Papa Rogers. And do you believe those were Brian, or do you believe that was somebody else with not?
I think based on I don't think any. I had seen some rumors early on before I saw about the Papa Roger stuff that there was a knife sheath left behind.
Me too.
I also had rumors that they found that somebody was seen in the house. I didn't put a lot of weight into it because, like I said, before the PCA, I would have thought that was unrealistic that somebody saw someone and then call 911 for 8 hours. And so, leaving the knife sheath, we had seen that, me and the guys on Reddit and stuff.
That's exactly
the one thing about Papa Rogers is he got a lot of other stuff wrong.
That's what I said.
That would be a form of putting yourself into the crime. And for the average, SK out there or whatnot, somebody who's not educated in criminal justice to the extent that he is, that's something you would expect. But, somebody to the extent of the knowledge that he has, you would assume that he wouldn't be placing himself into the crime. Like I said, he was doing certain things that you wouldn't expect. And the other thing is, I actually saw a post by Papa Rogers after he was arrested.
Really?
Yeah, a screenshot. I put it on a show.
Yeah, I remember that. There was a post after.
He said that he was fishing. He caught 32 pounds of trout or something. And
maybe it was your
that I didn't know. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know why everybody's this, that, and the third, and then all of a sudden
because that would have debunked the whole thing that everybody was still saying. Okay.
Yeah. I actually have a screenshot of that post somewhere. We put it out there on our show. We're like, hey, Papa Rogers. Yeah, and so
I never believe that, because I think if he was the real K, he would never put out wrong information, because that would infuriate him. So he would be bragging like, I did this, I did that, but never with wrong information. Right. So I think, that was the one thing that I was like, there's no way this guy would put that kind of information.
Right. And I mean, it is pretty odd, the sheath, the sheath was left behind.
But like we said, I remember hearing that rumor, and I read it online, and I read it a few weeks. And I even remember I called my stepdad, because when I heard the knife, I remember he had one similar. And I think he put it together by
because I think early on in this investigation, and the reason why people were saying he left the sheath was because they were looking for a K bar. It was released early on that they were looking for a K bar, and somebody was like, "Why would they be looking for a specific
Knife.
Right.
unless they found the sheath?" And I think that's where that started, and I believe that's where I initially had seen it, was people putting those two things together. There's a lot of things in this case that you can put together and figure out. I told the guys well before anything was found out that I felt that Maddie and Kaylee were probably in the same bed when this incident had occurred, and that what else did I told them probably about three things, but that one's the one that sticks out to me. I was like, you look at, these are girls that grew up together. They're intoxicated. They're on the phone until 3:00 in the morning. They probably fell asleep in the same bedroom. Like, that's not uncommon. That's not something to be, out of the ordinary, in my opinion. And so it came out like a week or two after I had told the guys that, or maybe even sooner than that. And I was like, man, I bet if I would have put that out there, people think I'm psychic or part of the case.
I know.
But it's just, you just got to factor in a few of those things. But yeah, the sheath, in my opinion, probably a lot of people were figuring that out based on the fact that they were looking for a specific knife early on in this investigation. And that would be one of the ways to tell why they would be.
See, I would have thought that by the wounds. That's my criminology mind. I would have been like, oh, by the wounds, they were able to tell exactly what kind of knife it was.
Well, you can tell a certain couple of things, probably serrated, double serrated, the length, the you're probably going to tell that this is a knife of higher quality given the amount of victims and where they, the damage was done. And so it would narrow down that search a little bit.
Can I ask you a question? Do you believe Zaina and Ethan that he went with a motive of killing 4 people, or do you think there were practical kills?
Well, I think maybe perhaps that Zaina and Maddie or Kaylee were the targets. I think Zaina was part of the targets. I don't know if all 4 of them were. But I do think at least 2 of them were, and one was in each of those bedrooms. Now I know there's a lot of speculation that it's Kaylee and whatnot, and that Brian was in the DMs at least on one of the girls. I will say this: we brought on one of Brian Koberger's friends from high school on the show. Her name was Bree, and she looks a lot like, or at the time that she knew Brian, she sent us a couple of pictures to prove that she was friends with him. At the time that she knew Brian, her appearance was pretty similar to Kaylee. There was the lady who talked about the birthing hips. She showed out pictures of herself during the time that she would have been while she was on that date with Brian Koberger, and she also resembled Kaylee as well. Color, height, weight, things of that nature. Yeah. And so that could be the link there. I would assume that's probably the link. Something familiar, someone familiar. Now that birthing hips, though, everybody keeps making a big old deal about it. That's from the movie Dark Shadows with Johnny Depp. He talks about birthing hips and
Johnny. Love Johnny.
Yeah, it's like when I first heard, he said you have great birthing hips. I was like, man, I know that from somewhere. I was like, I know that, and I put birthing hip quote, and sure enough, popped up Dark Shadows, Johnny Depp, and I was like, I saw that movie, I remember it. And so, Bree had said that he was a guy that tried to be funny. I wouldn't be surprised if he was just trying to use quotes. I don't think this guy. He's had some issues, but based on what Bree told us. Prior to him being involved with hard drugs, he had an issue making friends. But when you were in his circle, apparently he wasn't that odd or weird of a guy. Right.
That's why I always put him as a sociopath and not a psychopath, because I don't think
now, just to say this, and you guys know I love this stuff, but I have another live in about 25 minutes here for our Just Gas Lewis and Sunny channel. So I'm going to have to trust me, I could do this all the time. We know we can do. Me and Adam at one time, Daniel, did a 13-hour live.
We did.
We did one time.
Yeah. Just the two of us.
Yeah. But so I want to say, of course, thank you to everyone that's coming. We're going to do final thoughts here, if you don't mind, just because I do have another one scheduled for the Just Ask Lewis and Sunny show. That's kind of like our Just Ask Us channel. And tonight it's about how to free stream from your mobile app. And so it's just kind of like a random thing of just ask. Just asking, you shall receive. No, just kidding. But anyways, so we'll do final thoughts. I want to thank very much, though, for Daniel and Big Blue coming on. Sorry that Jamie couldn't make it. And again, I would love to do this again sometime, talk about the Delphi. And thanks to all the new people that have become subs. And hopefully those people that came in here will remain those subs as well. Again, it's about bringing awareness. It's always about caring and, about other people first and foremost. And I just want to say I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate Alexa being on tonight with us as well. I mean, I had to twist her arm. It was hard, but she did. She came. But yeah. So I want to wrap it up with safe final thoughts. So Daniel, for you, just some final thoughts, and you can even say what you're doing next or when your next live is or this or that, whatever you want to say.
Awesome. First, I want to thank you guys for having me, and hopefully we can do this again, maybe perhaps even on the Drunk Turkey show, and have you guys come on. That
absolutely.
Would be great. We'll make some room.
6 is perfect. 10.
Yeah, I would love to continue our conversation and stuff like that. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Bouncing ideas and just talking out loud really helps, when it comes to trying to figure things out when it comes to this type of case. As far as what we're going to be doing next, we have a show tomorrow night live where we'll be taking phone calls. So who knows who'll call in tomorrow? I don't see somebody else calling in from the area, but you never know.
Actually, hold on. 1 sec, Daniel. Oprah's calling. One sec.
Right.
My name Alexa might call tomorrow.
Call us in. We'll be going live tomorrow with that. We are covering right now Idaho. We're covering Delphi as well. We've looked into the Alec Baldwin case, which is the one I think the other one that is still ongoing. And we also cover other things other than true crime. We've talked recently about a Russia shot down a UFO not too long ago. At least that's what they claim, and they have some footage of it. We broke it down, so I recommend going and checking it out.
All right.
Hey, Richard Allen was at that JC's bar shooting pool, and his buddy just got in trouble in North Carolina, and he was a big what do you call it? Sasquatch. Bigfoot. He was in North Carolina hunting Bigfoot.
Oh, geez.
What do we call it in Canada? The Yeti? Sasquatch? I can't even remember. Yeti? No, none. Sasquatch? Bigfoot? I don't know.
That's up Hyman's alley. He's our Bigfoot hunter. He's
I'll have Sunny send you the guy's name, and you can hit Oliver's Facebook.
yeah, that'd be great. Send it to us.
And so any last thoughts on the cases at all, or just I don't know if you ever answered this. Go ahead.
Just our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and the families that are close by in all of these cases. It's very sad and unfortunate thing, when we put out our shows, we do that with them in mind, that they might see what we're putting out, and we want to make sure that we're not putting out anything that's going to make the families or the victims hurt more, so to speak. Right. And so we try to stick to the facts and to the evidence of the case and go based off of those things. And even when we get callers who claim a certain thing, we do our best to vet them. I believe, Kim was told what she was told. How much of what she was told was 100% is up to debate, but she does have there is some truth in what she was saying, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, I recall one of the things that she specifically said was, I have a detective assigned to me, but I don't care. I'm a mother, and I'm here to let you guys know that this stuff is going on. That to me, when somebody kind of pushes aside, because I'm a feisty person when I need to be, and I'm kind of like a rule breaker some ways myself, because it's kind of like if I deem that awareness is more important. Hey, dude, like cop guy, okay, pipe down over there, dude. But then also by the same token, respecting the fact that they don't want certain information going out,
Right.
So I kind of was feeling for a little bit because when she said that, like, I got a detective assigned to me, but I don't care. I'm going to speak my truth here.
Well, she feels that, and I understand it, but her feeling is that, like, she kind of feels that the police kind of bend towards the university just because that's where the money comes from. I mean, you have a case, Katie Benoit, 2011 her life was taken by a professor from the University of Idaho. And she and her friends went to the university and explained what he was saying and claiming that he would do. And the university said to her and her friends that there's a confidentiality aspect to it, and they can't do anything about it to contact the police.
That's horrible.
And he ended up taking her life a couple weeks later.
Jeez.
And so that's from that university there.
And this is something that is not so out there, not mainstream.
Right, exactly. And so we put together an episode not too long ago about a lot of the stuff that's gone out there and how fast the police respond with it's an isolated incident. Nobody needs to be alarmed type of thing. Happens too often.
Yeah. And Alexa and Adam, final thoughts here at 7:58 my time.
You're go ahead, Adam. Go ahead. You go.
No. I was just going to say thank you very much, Daniel, for being here, and of course for Blue. But yeah, I would love to continue this sometime. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone.
How old is everyone
watching?
I'm old enough to spank you, DMC. That's how old enough I am. I'm 53, and I'm not proud of it. I want to be 26 again. There.
Right. I'm 41.
Yeah.
I'm 43. I'm proud to be 43.
I have a twin sister. Did anyone know that? Me and Adam are Cancer babies. What's your zodiac sign?
I am a Capricorn.
Like me.
You're the same as Alexa.
When is your birthday?
It is the 1st of January.
On the 4th.
New Year's Day, baby.
Oh, happy belated birthday.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. My son's is January 4th. He's Capricorn too. That's those are hard ones. My son was always hard because it was too close to after Christmas that people didn't want to think of a birthday. So I always combined his birthday to make it a big fun event for him on New Year's Eve so that he would have, right? Because people always forgot. They would want me to remember their kid's birthday, but they would always forget Matthew's because of just happening after Christmas. So because everyone was probably too busy partying on the night before when you were growing up.
At least your birthday, they don't forget. Mine, is the 4th. So by the time they get there, everybody's broke,
my son's,
hangover.
Everybody already lost their New Year's resolution by the 4th.
Yeah, pretty much. Nobody has.
Alexa, did you have any last thoughts?
No, I mean, just again, thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure meeting you. And like I said, I really like your channel. I really like you guys, what you guys do, and sticking to the facts, and the way you guys. I like the format that is very relaxed. That is basically it's almost like I feel like I'm in your living room speaking with like 3 friends, like listening into a conversation with 3 friends or 4 friends.
Yes, absolutely.
So I really enjoy that. So
thank you guys.
That's why I enjoyed them too when I came across them, because of that reason. I'm a very relaxed person in real life and all that stuff, but it like I always want even customers throughout my life too. You want to make them feel like that they're welcome, that it's their home. I've even a house when you decorate it, you want to make it feel homey, not sterile and in a box type of thing, or what I call like my twin's the opposite of me. She would want the opposite, but anyways, so I love serious but chill and relax, the combination of the two, where someone can joke around and have a laugh and still talk about cases, because you need to have that balance. So that's what I enjoyed about it too. And I mean, besides the name, I was like, All right, let me click on this here.
Yeah. It's it can tend to what do you call it? Throw off some people
It
when
can
they
throw
hear
off some.
drunk turkey show.
Yeah, right. And it was a name that was thrown off, but then what
I
went
like it.
right through my head was that those people that have usually those weird names usually excel because of those stranger names that are out there. And that's what you're remembered for. Like, who hears of a drunk turkey show? You don't
Yeah.
usually hear that name,
Imagine
right?
tomorrow when what is it? Public intoxication. What is the guy who's coming tomorrow? Public
Uh,
intoxication.
on Friday, Publicly
Oh,
Buzzed will be joining us on
Publicly
Friday.
buzzed and drunk turkey.
Buzz.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We're
Okay.
we're gonna combine the show. It's gonna be called Publicly Drunk.
Publicly, right, exactly.
So
Well,
it
again,
should be
thank you.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, and if anyone does want to come over to the Just Ask Lewis and Sunny show, that will be going on in about 15 minutes time. Again, it's just one of those Just Ask shows. Like last week, my husband was on, and we were talking about my husband's like a jack of all trades person. He's 32. Did I tell you that? Dang, my husband. He met him from England, gaming on RuneScape.
Nice.
If you've ever heard of that, did you ever hear? No.
No.
Okay. Anyways, he was on last week. So we just do different topics and talk about, usually it ends up at food at some point. And we'll end up talking about food. Anyways,
Nice.
yeah. Thank you guys for all the thumbs up. Thank you guys for joining us, to all the new subscribers as well. Hopefully you stick around as we cover the cases.
thank
Daniel, to you and Big
Will do.
Blue, and to Jamie, again, all the success in the world. I'll send you over that height thing that I talked about, and that Adam, I think that that thing that you sent or whatever, about, what was it, the thing that you sent? You said that we'll send to Daniel.
Oh, it was just the that friend of
Oh, the friend. The friend,
that was
Richard
into the
Allen.
but
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. All right. Oh, Sunny had lit chicken. Yeah, of course I did. But it didn't have a good ring to. Oh, should I say? I see what you said. Yeah. And yes, that was vodka in Daniel's bottle. That looked like water. It's
Straight vodka all night.
But anyways, you guys have a great night. Take care. Thanks so much
Thank you,
again, Daniel.
Thank
And
you, guys.
we'll see you on the Just Ask Lewis and Sunny.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take
Bye,
care,
Daniel.
guys.
Have a nice
Have a good one.
meeting you. Bye bye. Have a good night.